We now interrupt the unparalleled brilliance and knowledge normally flowing from this YouTube channel to bring you the following breaking news. What's up, everybody? This is the Jedi, and indeed this is breaking news. Breaking. This article is from 3 hours ago, and I am prompted to do this because of the subject matter, and also because I want to get out ahead of this, because what I proclaim to you before I read a single letter of this article is that there is going to be now a trashing of this man if he does pass. Even if he doesn't pass, I expect to start hearing negative things on CNN and Fox and MSNBC and all of it about he was an abusive father and he was a bad man, and that we reject all of that. That's why I'm doing this. I'm breaking in to tell you, reject what you're going to hear, and telling you to reject that. To reject that. And to remind you that Joe Jackson is ours. He's ours. Damn it. He's ours. He's ours. We all know him. We all know him. He's that uncle, that grandfather, or that father of ours. You see what I'm saying? We know him. We know him. We know him. And he's ours. He's ours. You see, just like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was the most famous human being that ever walked on the earth. Not even prophets from God can make the claim. He was the most famous human being ever seen by humanity, and the greatest entertainer the world has ever known. And damn it, even though he was known by all of humanity, Michael Joseph Jackson was ours, bitches. He was ours. He was ours. Just to put that in context for you, let's go back. When we see the tombs of the pharaohs, when they excavate and rob the graves of our ancient ancestors, such as King Tut and so on, we always refer to them as Egyptian. We refer to them as Egyptian. That they are still the Egyptians. We don't say, well, they're for everybody. No, bitch. No. Damn it, no. So it's in that context that I'm trying to help you understand. Michael Jackson was ours. He was beheld by the entire world. That's fine. But he was still ours. He was still ours. Just like his mama would say, that's still my son. That's still my son. So Joseph Jackson is ours. Whatever happens, he's ours. And let us not entertain these ideas of him being a bad person, an abuser, and he did all of it. You must also remember that Joe Jackson is from a certain era. You understand? There's a lot of similarities between Joe Jackson and my father. They were both men who were originally from the South and then ended up in the Midwest and reared their families there. They were from Gary. I'm from goddammit Chicago, bitches. South Side! Matter of fact, let's see Joe Jackson. Let's see, where's he from? Ask the white bitch. White bitch? Where is Joe Jackson from? I think she'll be a whore this week. White whore. I think I like that better for this week. Just this week. Born July 26, 1928. Is the patriarch. Where was he born at? Where was he born? Wait now. Where was he born? Born July 26. So he's actually just like weeks away from his birthday too. Can we add that? Born. How about that? My father was from Arkansas, bitches. Joe Jackson was born in Fountain Hill, Arkansas. Oh my God. Wow. I told y'all Joe Jackson and my father were the same people. You know what I mean? And which is why I was going to say to you that men from that era, they weren't given to all this love, love, love talk stuff, you know? It wasn't really like that. You know, it wasn't until I was probably in my 20s that, well, I'm still in my 20s, so what am I saying? Alright, strike that. Anyways, earlier in my 20s. Alright, don't type me stuff. Settle down. Alright. So, but in probably my 20s, you know, I started, I put a policy in place in my family where we would have family meetings, you know, on Sundays, or at least once a month. And I started stressing at one of our first meetings that, you know, everybody needs to make sure that you tell your family member that you love them. Let's all make sure we say I love you, you know. And it was at that time that I got my father into it, you know. And as the years went on, I could, because when I was growing up, my father wasn't, you know, he didn't hug you and all that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to help you understand, like, this is the type of man Joe Jackson is. This type of man my father was as well. You know what I mean? And so, you know, the younger generation can teach. And so they softened him up, I'm sure, you know, over the years. You know, even back when Janet was, my wife, was up for the song that you guys know very well, and I wrote it, but I don't usually talk about it, again, from Poetic Justice, remember? Heard from a friend today, so forth. And she said you weren't, da da da. Alright, so Janet received an Oscar nomination for that, and she took her father as her date when she went to the ceremony. But I'd fall back. I was going to say that, you know, and then in later years, you know, because me and my brothers and sisters, we have always kissed on the lips. We always have. And probably from my late 20s until my father's death, we always kissed on the lips. Always. And he'd always say, I love you. And even when we were on the phone, you know, we had gotten him into that, you know. I'm just trying to express that these were men of that ilk, you know. Joe Jackson was from Arkansas. My father was from Arkansas. I'm sure he probably grew up on a plantation, and his people was probably sharecroppers, just like my father and my grandmom and them. You feel me? So that's the type of man he was. And it was about men like that were when we had real kings. You know, they would have that rifle, you know, and that shotgun under the bed, and they would run out on the porch when something jumped off. You feel me? And they did go and provide. If they had to be gone for days to get a coin to bring back to the family, they did that. They did that. And he is from that. He's that type of brother, is what I'm trying to get across to you. And with that came rearing your children in a certain way. Like when my father used to come home, because my father was usually touring with Ray Charles and people like that, you know. And so I used to always say we was the richest people in the ghetto, because we lived in the basement of a housing project. We had rats the size of small cars. They used to crawl over me and my brothers and sisters at night, you know. And it was all of us kids, 9 of us, just slept. We had 2 queen size beds. I think they were queen size. When you're little, everything looks big. So I'm assuming they were queen size, but maybe they weren't. But we all slept in a row. All the boys and the girls slept all in one row across, you know. And you know, it was my grandmother that was raising us, you know. And then when my father would come home from the road, you were glad to see him, but you also didn't approach. It was just the energy, you know. It didn't have to be anything that he said. You just knew, don't approach. And you also knew, don't get out of line, and don't, you feel me? It was just, you just knew, you know. You just knew. And so that's what I always knew their family meant when they said they were afraid of their father. Because we were afraid of my dad. We were. You know? He represented structure and discipline and stand up straight type. You feel me? You just didn't get out of line. I remember one time, well, I was too young to remember it, but my brothers and sisters always tell the story about how my father had been home visiting, and he was leaving out with all his gear and everything to go back on the road, and my second to the oldest sister said something disrespectful to my grandmother. And because you used to have to go up the stairs to our front door to go out of our apartment because we lived in the basement. And she said something. He said, "What did you say, youngin'?" And don't you know, he punched her ass and she slid all the way down the hall. We had a long ass hall that went back, and there was an old time washer that was at the end of the hall. The bitch slid all the way back there. And they would always tell that story at like family gatherings and Thanksgiving and stuff like that, and we'd all have a good laugh about it. But it wasn't seen as abuse. Like, she had disrespected my grandmother, his mother, and he heard it. You not getting away with that, because my father also had very good ears. My father could literally hear down the street and around the corner. You know, he played guitar professionally, and you could be, when he calls you into his music room to discipline you or tell you something, he'd literally be playing guitar, watching TV, and talking to you. And he doesn't miss this plot line on TV, doesn't miss a note, and he knows the fuck he's telling you. Like, you just didn't play. If you were going to talk shit, you waited until he was out the house and away completely, and then you talk shit. Because otherwise it will be heard. And I feel like that's how Joseph was. You know? And he made all of his boys into men. Men. You see? And none of them has a police record. You see? None of them has police records. We never saw articles of LaToya falling out of clubs drunk, and she's dating this one and she's dating that one, and she's a whore this and she's a whore. We never saw that with Rebe. We certainly never saw it with my wife. You see what I'm saying? So this is the measure of a man. This is the measure of a man. This is the measure of a man. This is the measure. You understand? That's the measure. Look, when me and my dad watched Barack Obama announce his candidacy for president, as impressed and as inspired and all that stuff as I was really on fire when Michelle and those girls came out and I saw them for the first time. I was like, that's his wife. That told me everything I needed to know about this man. Everything. Everything. And anything I don't know about Joseph or can't infer, all I need to do is look at Catherine. That sister's presence testifies to who he is by who she is. By who she is. So, we love Joe Jackson, damn it. This man was able to pull himself up by his bootstraps. He was able to hone the talents, help his children to channel their talent here on earth, and to make great success and wealth out of it. Period. And if he did it with an attitude, I ain't mad at him. I said it. Joe Jackson, father of Michael, my wife, and their famous siblings, is now battling terminal cancer, it's been revealed. The 89-year-old patriarch is currently in the hospital in the end stages of his cancer, and is currently surrounded by his wife, Catherine, and other family members. TMZ reports that Joseph, who originally managed the Jackson 5, has been battling the illness for some time, and has been told his cancer is untreatable. As yet, there is no telling how much time he has left. It came after his son, Jermaine, claimed Joe was dying earlier this week. He said his dad took a turn for the worse this week and is now on his deathbed. Jermaine, who appeared in Celebrity Big Brother back in 2007, describes his father as very, very frail. Why are you mentioning that accolade if it was back in 2007? Why don't you just mention... we already know he was part of the Jackson 5. Why do you need to mention Celebrity Big Brother? This feels like low-key shade. It might as well just read Jermaine, who is a failed actor and performer, described his father. You feel me? It's the same thing. Jermaine, who appeared on Celebrity Big Brother back in 2007, described his father as very, very frail. That was low-key shade. But goddammit, nothing is ever too low to get off the radar of to not be detected by the radar of the Jedi. Know this. He doesn't have long. The family needs to be by his bedside. That's our intention in his final days, said Jermaine. Joseph, who suffers from diabetes, has gone through a number of health scares in recent years. He had a stroke in Brazil in 2015, which left him temporarily blind, and was treated in hospital a year later with a high fever after falling ill during a routine checkup. Son Jermaine told the Daily Mail that his family has been banned from seeing Joe on his deathbed. What? No one knew what was going on. We shouldn't have to beg, plead, and argue to see our father, especially at a time like this. We've been hurting. We were not being told where he was and couldn't get a full picture, even from the doctor, he said. What? If I'm a Jackson and my father, I don't have to be a Jackson. My father's in there, I'm punching everybody out until I get to my father. That's what's going to happen. I hate when people just assign themselves into a helpless position when you're not. You punch everybody out and you go and stand by your father's side. What's difficult about this? I'm getting worked up. Damn. Jermaine added, my mother was worried sick. He's very, very frail. He doesn't have long. The family needs to be by his side. That's our intention. It's what any family would want, but some people around him think they know better, and they don't. Okay, maybe this is people. It's not like medical staff. Whoever, you punch everybody out, and you go see your dad. What am I missing? According to the Mail, the family had to stage an emergency meeting with Joe's manager, and were finally allowed. Fuck that, a manager? Oh my God, I would tie him to my bumper and drag his ass until he was dust. Do you understand me? And as many kids as in this family, and grandkids and stuff now, and great-grandkids? No! Retired music manager Joe is best known for launching his son's band, the Jackson 5. He began working with his Jackie, I think they meant to add son, Tito and Jermaine on the musical group back in the 1960s. Younger sons Marlon and Michael later joined in with backing vocals until the siblings united as the Jackson 5. In 1969, the siblings were signed to Motown Records in Detroit with their first 4 singles selling world record-breaking 10 million copies in 10 months. Wow. That's 1 million copies a month, homie. That's never been done since. I promise you. And till Michael. In 2002, he was awarded a proclamation in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as the best entertainment manager of all time. I did not know that. Wow. Joe Jackson shares rare photos of blah blah blah. Okay, I guess that's this thing below. I'm over it. And the fake children. There they are. And they so desperately want us to believe this kid looks like Michael, and he doesn't. He's a little fucking Latino kid. I'm over it. There's 4 kids that look like that that live on my fucking block. I said it. I'm over it. I can't. That's such a travesty. That is a travesty. I pulled up one other one just for, in case I would need it. Let's see now. This is from the Daily Mail. Let's see if there's anything new here. Joe Jackson, 88 on his deathbed. Okay, but even in the last days, not without controversy. The Jackson Patriarch suffered from an undisclosed terminal illness, has been at the center of bizarro of access to family by family members. The 88-year-old has been ailing for months, but took a turn for the worst in the past weeks, sources close to the family disclosed. But his family, we already read that, okay, for 4 days his sons and daughters were locked in heated discussions, unsure of what was going on and pleading to see him. Fuck that. I am killing everybody. Do you understand? I will see my father. It will happen. It will happen. Daily Mail has now learned that the following an emergency Jackson family meeting and desperate plea to Joe's fucked up manager, Charles Coupet, family members were finally granted access. I'm not arguing with nobody. That's my father and he's on his deathbed. You either get out the way or be killed. Those are your choices. The manager has not responded to Daily Mail's request for comment because he's a bitch ass. But Daily Mail has learned that Joe himself had given verbal instructions making clear he didn't want visitors or family members to see him on his medical records. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And isn't it suspect, everybody? Even if we want to believe that he would say, I don't want my family to see me, who goes to say, I don't want to see my medical records? That sounds like somebody who doesn't want the family to see their medical records that's not Joseph Jackson. So that maybe they don't know he's full of arsenic, or he's suffering from something that they would object to and know that there's no way he could be suffering from that or something. It's just an odd placement, you feel me? That he didn't want families to see him or his medical records. That just sends up a flag for me. I can't. It's understood Catherine, daughters Revi and Giovanni, and granddaughter Yashi did visit the Patriarch in Las Vegas, Nevada on Tuesday. The visit came following a tense standoff during which the Jackson family struggled to gain medical information about and access to Joe. Son Jermaine confirmed the odd situation when approached by the Daily Mail. Quote, no one knew what was going on. We shouldn't have to beg, plead, and argue to see our own father. Okay, we read that, I think. We're going to tell full picture. Jermaine is 63. I can't. Jermaine Jackson is 63. Damn. Wow. He's very frail. He doesn't have long. The family needs to be by his bedside. We already read that. Joe Jackson is like the ultimate cat daddy. Can we just add that? It's what any family would want. Blah, blah, blah. The talent manager who guided his children to unprecedented show business success. As Jackson 5, now the ailing patriarch is struck by illness. Okay, the source. It's understood Catherine and daughter. We don't really need any of this. But after a brief visit, the women spent the night in a nearby hotel before returning to discover Joe had been moved from his home. Yeah, this is the picture of him and her when Janet went to the let's read it. A source close to Joe when she too had been denied. Okay, no. Okay, but I can tell you that's what this picture's from because I know what Janet wore because I helped her pick out the outfit and everything. But that's when she was nominated for the song again. And I'll never fall in love with... No. And I'll never fall in love with... No. Oh. Oh, shit. I can't even think of a lyric. What's your note, Jedi? Hear the song. Hear it. Oh, no. Here. Oh, here. I think that's my note right there. That's your note, Jedi. Snow. No. So here we are alone again. Didn't think it'd come to these. And to know it all began with just a little kiss. I've come too close to happiness to have it swept away. Don't think I can take the pain. Never fall again. Kind of late in the game, but my heart is in your hands. Don't you stand there and then tell me you love me, then leave again. 'Cause I'm falling in love with you again. Jedi, hold me. I can't. Never. I can't with me. I can't. Anyways. part of the recording. Wait, what recording? Daily Mail has learned that Joe himself gave over himself, was this on a phone recording, making clear he didn't want any visitors, anyone from the family, to see him on his his medical records. Part of the recording was overheard by some family members. How that recording was obtained is not clear, but one source close to the camp said, quote, "The people around Joe are the people who have been there for him in his everyday life." So that's low-key shade, as if to say, well, the family's just not been there for him, and they've just not been there. I'm over it. They're acting the interests of no one else. They're acting his interest and no one else's. That's low-key shade, everybody. I know it when I smell it. They're acting, okay, the Jackson family, I don't think we need this. One family member said, if it's true there was verbal instructions from Joseph, we'd like to know how that instruction was obtained. Look, he's 88 or 89 years old. And in the natural order of things, this would be, you know, he would be in his twilight, he's in his twilight years anyway, and so, you know, when you're 88, 89 years old, you kind of expect that, oh, they probably don't have that much time left, you know, anyway, whatever. Can I just point out, in this photograph here, he's actually wearing Christian Louboutin shoes for men. Let's point that out. But, so it would be the natural order anyway, but the fact that he is father of the most famous musical dynasty and the father of the most famous human being that's ever walked on the planet Earth makes it extraordinary, you know, by definition. And I just don't want to see us buy into that he was a bad man and he was a villain and all that shit. This was one of them fathers from the South who had moved their families to the Midwest, who had hustled and got his grind on to get a coin to keep his family together, period, the fucking end. And anything outside of that is because the white devils just don't fucking understand anything, let alone black folks. They don't understand their own damn nose on their face. But we're not buying into that. So we're not entertaining that. You see? We're not entertaining that at all. There'll be none of that. There'll be none of that. We love this brother. He is ours. And if Allah sees fit to take him, then inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. From Allah we come and to Allah we return. But I'd like to know what you guys think. I'd like to know what you think. I want to say this in parting to everybody. I am aware of this young prince who was murdered by this white devil ass cop in Pittsburgh. I'm aware of it. I want you to know that as I sit here speaking to you, I've done a 1-hour video on it. Let me see. I don't know if I'm going to be releasing it, I will tell you. For 2 reasons. A, y'all know when one of these motherfuckers murders our people, there is a venom, a rage, an intense violence that comes out of me that I'm not able to articulate in words. It's almost like being consciously in a blackout. Consciously in a blackout. Because all I want to see is blood. And that video reflects that. I was just getting ready to go to post on that when I saw this. And I thought this would be the perfect thing to calm me down. I don't know if I would revisit that video. I just don't know, everybody. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I haven't listened to it back yet, which is always my way before I release a video. As I'm in post-production, hear it. Because when I'm speaking, I'm speaking. And I'm not choosing my words or any of that stuff. When I hear my videos back, I'm hearing it for the first time. As totally detached from it, like that's somebody else saying it. And I'm just evaluating it. And being moved or whatever by whatever the person is saying. Irrespective of the fact that it's me. So I have to hear that back. And then I will decide if I'm releasing it or not. But I will tell you that there are protests going on as I speak to you over this murder. You know? And as is always constant with me, I want revenge. Do you understand? Revenge. Revenge. An eye for an eye, a life for a life, a blood drop for a blood drop. And if we're not going to do that, then it's like, well, what's the point of talking about it? What's the point? What's the point? What's the point? But every once and again, it's an opportunity to point out once again, in real time, how our people are reacting and responding to shit. To hold the mirror and say, see what you're doing? See what's happening to us? And this is what you're doing in response to that. See what you're doing? Look what you're doing. Look what you're doing. It's kind of like rubbing a dog's nose when they poop on your carpet. I'm over it. Let me know what you think about this situation with Joseph Jackson. I'm kind of probably going to stay on the story, everybody, because according to Jermaine, it looks like, you know, it's so critical that like it could go any moment or something. So I'm almost afraid to refresh the page, you know. But I'm just going to go ahead and release this and get it out, and then let's just keep watching, see what happens, you know. Yeah. I'll see you soon.